63 seats are up for grabs for party list groups in the 20th Congress, and based on the recent partial and unofficial count, at least 6 are already assured of more than one seat. Let's dissect this further with our viral election data wizard, Edson Guido. How do party lists fill up the 63 posts?
So says that is correct. We first look at the number of party lists who were able to get more than 2% of the total party list votes, because they would be guaranteed at least one seat. And so far, from the latest partial and unofficial results, we're seeing that 6 party lists from Akbayan to Ako Bicol have gotten more than the required 2%. So they are already guaranteed one spot. So if we would do the math here, they're guaranteed one seat each. So now we have a total of 63 party list seats, and then we have 6 guaranteed already. So we now have remaining 57 seats. So now, for the second round, we will now compute how many additional seats would these 6 party lists get. And we would multiply the 57 remaining seats by their individual ratios. So now it's 57 times 6.71%, so that is equal to 3.8. But then we would disregard the decimal point, so that's 3 additional seats. So that's 1 guaranteed seat for Akbayan plus 3 additional seats. That gives them 4 total seats. But then we have to remember that for every party list, there's just a maximum allowable seat of 3. So even though this is 1 plus 3, that's 4, they would only get a total of 3 seats. For Duterte Youth, they were able to get 5.61% of the total party list votes. So if you multiply 5.61% by 57, that's equal to 3.2. So, 3.2. So disregarding the decimal point, that's 3 plus 1. They'll get a total of 4. But again, we have a limit of 3. So they would also get the maximum allowable number of seats, which is 3. Now for Tingog, they were able to get 4.36% of the total party list votes. Again, we multiply that by 57, which gives them 2.5 additional seats, or disregarding the decimal, that's 2. So 1 plus 2, they'll get the maximum number of 3 seats. Now for 4-piece, this is very interesting, because if you multiply the ratio of 3.50% by 57, that is actually equal to 1.995. So if we disregard the decimal, that's 1 additional seat. But that is very close to 2. So we will be closely monitoring the final votes for 4-piece, because yesterday this was actually 2.0 something. So they were able to get 2 additional seats. But then we're seeing that the ratio has dropped to 3.50%. So if, let's say, they're able to get more votes in the next few hours, once we get the full picture of the transmission, and this goes back up to 2, under that assumption, that's 1 plus 2, we get 3 seats. But then if the number remains to be below 2, so they'll get an addition of just 2 seats. So at this point, we're still not sure. Yes, we do the same thing, just multiply 57 by 0.0298, that's 1.7. Again, disregarding the decimal, that's 1. So they get 2 total seats. And then lastly, for Ako Bicol, that's 57 multiplied by 0.0259, which gives them 1.5, or a total of 2 seats. So looking back at for Akbayan, 3 seats for Duterte Youth, 3 seats for Tingog. For 4-piece, we'll closely monitor the situation, whether they'll get 2 or 3 seats. Then ACT-CIS and Ako Bicol will also get 2 total seats. So how do we fill up the rest of the 63 total seats, right? So now we have, let's just sum this up. That's 3, 6, 9, 11, or 12, depending on the final numbers of 4-piece. And then this is 14, 16. So 63 minus 16, that is 47 remaining seats. So what we would do is that we would, number 7 is Uswag Ilonggo, that's below 2%. But they will fill up the additional seats. So we would go from number 7 up to number 53 for the 47 remaining spots. And they would all get an additional of 1 seat. So just to give our viewers an idea of what we're talking about, so that's from number 7 to number 53. So here is your cutoff at suerte. So literally suerte. Pasok sa cutoff. So number 53, that is if 4Ps would get 3 total seats. But if they would only be able to get 2 seats, then that's an additional spot for Phil Reca here or Gabriela for a difference of 2,000.
Di abot ang Gabriela?
Yes, looks like that is the case now.
Yeah, so we have about 97.37% of all returns as of 5:45 p.m. today. Edson, I know this is very small for most people, but you are a data scientist. How much more can that move? We're talking about 2.5%, 2.5%, or just a little over 2.6%.
Actually, the election returns from previous elections, they don't really get to 100%. That is just at around 98%. So we're just talking about a few thousands of votes at this point. So we're actually, if you would look at the incremental number of votes that are trickling in, it's just very small at this point.
Almost negligible.
Yes, almost negligible. Yes.
To affect.
Yes. So just to give our viewers an idea, here's the final. So let's, for instance, if we would look at, say, the votes of.
Thank you for this very clear presentation,
Of Bam Aquino in 2019, the election returns, the percentage of ERs was at 98.42. So we're now at 97.37. For 2022, so let's have another example here. So here, like for Bato, 2022, here. So we have this, in 2022, the final ER percentage was at 98.35%.
Why is that, Edson? Would you know? Bakit di siya umabot ng 100? Because simplistically,
yes,
you think it's going to hit 100.
Well, some of the precincts just aren't able to transmit another, and at this point, the numbers are going to be very small. So we just look at the final canvassing of votes from the COMELEC na lang for the official number, because this is partial and unofficial anyway.
Well, Edson, just taking a look at these particular heat maps, what really, what's striking is the one of Kiko Pangilinan in 2025. If you take a look at Luzon, Northern Luzon and Mindanao, it's light green, meaning hindi siya pasok sa top 12,
yes,
right?
That's correct.
But it looks like he did secure the crucial L2L corridor, and that's why he is at number 5.
Yes, that's correct, Pawi. And also, if you would look at this part here, I think it's also, this part. Mindanao, he wasn't able to get a single province for, I think, some parts there, but more or less, he wasn't able to really get a spot in the top 12. But the most important thing is the Lingayen-Lucena corridor, because if you would look at this particular block, he was actually in the top 3 there, 7.3 million votes. So that's already half of his total number of votes. And again, we mentioned that for the Lingayen-Lucena corridor, that accounts for 40% of your total votes. So if you really do well in that particular corridor, like look at, we have Heidi Mendoza here, 5 million votes. That's why he was able to really have a lot of votes when it came to the total number of votes.
Can we go back to the heat map of the 3, Risa Ontiveros, Bam, and Kiko?
Yeah.
Kiko did not also make it in Solid North,
Yes.
but Bam did. Okay,
Yes.
what can we extrapolate from that?
Actually, that is very surprising because even Risa wasn't able to get those votes in 2022 when she ran for senator. For Kiko, especially here in the areas like Ilocos Norte, he wasn't able to get into the top 12. But for Bam, it is very interesting because, like, what is the #1 most vote-rich province in the Solid North? That is Pangasinan. And if you would look at Pangasinan, I'm very surprised that the #1 senator in Pangasinan was actually Bam Aquino. So that's very interesting. And if you would look at the whole region here, for the whole Solid North, in 2019, it was Amy Marcos who was #1 in those 3 regions combined. But now, she dropped to #2. It's early. But look at Bam Aquino. He was at 1.9 million votes, close to 2 million votes from the Solid North. So I think we're seeing a change in the dynamics because who would have imagined that this is a bailiwick of President Marcos and an Aquino is doing well over
Would you
there.
attribute it to the pink wave or some alliances that Bam Aquino made?
Definitely some alliances that Bam Aquino was able to strategically make, because we saw that if we would just talk about the pink wave, we didn't see that for Kiko Pangilinan. We also didn't see that for Risa Ontiveros in 2022. But Bam, it was only in Abra where he wasn't able to make it to the top 12. But the rest, he was able to be in the top 12 for most of the provinces up there in the solid north.
How about his relatively okay showing in Mindanao?
Yes, that is also very helpful. Because for Mindanao, we know that, okay, let's just use the heat map here so that I can
Kaya pala
visualize
si
it better.
Professor Contreras sinasabi ng presidentiable.
So for Mindanao, the top 12 here are allies of former President Duterte. It was a clean sweep, 12-0. From Bongo down to Doc Marites Mata. But look at Bam Aquino, that's number 14. So you'd say, number 14, medyo mahina. But that is still 2.4 million votes. And not only in Mindanao, let's also talk about another emerging Duterte country, which is, for me, Cebu. Cebu, it's Baricuatro who won as governor with the massive upset over Gwen Garcia. But look at the senators for Cebu. It was PDP laban for the top 5. And then Bam Aquino at number 6. And it's all PDP laban after that. And Kiko is at number 13. But look at Bam.
So he's making it in Duterte country and Marcos country.
Yes, agree. In both those countries and the very crucial Lingayen-Lucena corridor, where he was already able to get 10 million votes. I mean, just to put that number in context, Amy Marcos at number 12 was at 13 million votes. Bam already got 10 million votes in that Lingayen-Lucena corridor alone. So if you add the Mindanao vote, you add the Solid North vote, you add the Cebu vote, which is the number 1 vote-rich province, well, that's basically the reason why he was able to get 20.6 million votes.
Would you say, very quickly, like, do you think this data gives credence to the fact that a good ground game and alliances are really crucial to making it in a national race?
Yes, I would have to agree, because the alliances, especially with the governors, that's very crucial. Like, if we would talk about just the vote-rich provinces, well, we talked about Cebu, it's Bongo, right? But look at the next top vote-rich provinces and how they actually voted. If you talk about Cavite, who was number 1, it's Bam. Bulacan, that's number 3. Again, it's Bam at number 1. Pangasinan, we talked about this earlier, number 1, it's Bam. Laguna, next vote-rich province, who's the number 1? It's Bam. Negros Occidental is next, number 1, Bam. Batangas, number 1, Bam. Pampanga, number 1, it's Lito Lapid because it's bailiwick. But look at Bam, he's a close number 2. And then, if we go down further down the list, Rizal, number 1, Bam. Iloilo, number 1, Bam. These are all the vote-rich provinces.
Bam!
And if we extend that,
May isa pa akong tanong tungkol sa kanya. How much would you attribute the INC vote to his showing?
well, it's very important because they're historically known to give this block vote, right? But more than that, I think the fact that INC endorsed 8 candidates, that kind of gave people an idea that, oh, I could do undervoting. That would help me support my candidate better. And to vote, because a lot of times people will say, okay, I'll just vote for this candidate para lang mapuno ko yung 12. But then what they don't realize is if they do that, they're giving the same weight for their most preferred candidate at number 1, and they're parang hinabol na lang sa listahan at number 12. What they now, I think we're seeing a lot of undervotes in this particular elections because if you would just look at the final total for some of the senators, like for Aimee, he's at 13 million votes for number 12. Usually, to get to number 12, you need at least 14 to 15 million the past few election cycles. So we're actually seeing, I think, a lot of undervotes, which help also some of the candidates further solidify their rank.
It also ties in with what the survey firms are saying, yung low fill-up rate, no, 5 to 7 lang.
Yes. But isang pahabol pa ulit. Are you, because malayo si Kiko kay Bam,
Yes.
are you saying he went on alliances on his own and left, his party mate behind? What will account for this strong, incredibly strong showing in all the province, in the vote-rich provinces?
Well, we saw that already up in the north and in some provinces also in in Zamboanga, Mindanao. I think it's also possible that we should remember that Kiko Pangilinan ran for vice president in 2022, and of course, it was a very highly contested and election, no? So medyo siguro may mga iba pang alliances na hindi pa move on. Unlike BAM was considered relatively a fresher.
Well, he was the campaign manager.
Yeah, pero mas
Behind the scenes.
Behind the
But
scenes.
this time around, they're actually not in the same party. BAM ran as an independent, and I think Kiko stuck it out with the LP. So I don't know if that has a factor.
Yeah, it's possible because
Let's not forget his dad is Paul Aquino.
Also that.
And-
So many factors.
and we know that Alianza had initially had 12 candidates, and then Camille and Aimee left them. So there's 2 remaining.
Exactly.
That's an open spot for BAM to enter that. You know, we have the sample ballots going around from governors, and in the same, I can also say the same about Duterte. 10, di ba? So talagang may empty
There's
slots so
room.
that BAM could have also possibly entered.
Wow, all right. Thank you so much, Edson, for making
Can
the
we have you
results-
every night?
He demystified it so much.
Yeah, no, making it
Yeah.
clear, particularly the party list, it can be so complicated. Thank you so much, Edson Guido, TV5 Chief Election Analyst.